Today I'm going to walk you through a bit of the DvSum Data Intelligence Suite, and specifically I'm going to be talking about the data lineage features. The key thing that you should know for context is that our data catalog serves as the foundation for all the other modules, and data lineage that I'll be talking about today is part of the data governance module. I won't be spending time on data quality and the artificial intelligence agents, but of course there's lots more information about that on our website. And likewise, for the technical architecture, there's lots more information on the website, but I'll mention a couple of top points for you to have in mind. And that is that there's a DvSum gateway that is installed in your network, and that's the piece that scans your data sources to gather catalog information together. It gathers that lineage information. That way, the data never leaves your network. Now, we have a patent on this architecture, and it really is a key competitive advantage. So I'm not going to spend longer talking about it, but I just wanted you to be sure to have that architecture in mind as now we just talk about the technical features. So I'll spend just a moment describing the feature, and then I'll spend most of my time showing it to you. The important thing to know is that the one thing that you have to do as the user is kick off a scan. Make sure that the lineage option is selected and the tool does the rest. It connects, it gathers all the metadata that it needs, and then it builds up an intuitive GUI to show you all that metadata information. I mean, there's a lot, and so it comes up, we've got a good way to refine it so you can just get to the information that you need. Now, that's what it is. Why do you care? Why is it important to you? So for governance reasons, it may be really important to have a data provenance audit trail, or for technical reasons, you may have a problem and you want to track down what was the root cause of that issue, or impact analysis when you're thinking about doing future development. It can really help make a project successful to be able to know what downstream systems are affected by it. Unique differentiators for the DvSum solution include our parsing of really complex code. It could be SQL or JavaScript in a stored procedure, or it might be Python code in a Databricks notebook. All sorts of technologies are supported. Most of my examples today are in Snowflake, but there's support for lots and lots of technologies. And also that we've got this integration with the full suite, right? So today we're focused on the lineage, but it's critical that it also ties back to observability and quality, governance, data classification, things like that. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at the product in action. The first thing I'm going to do is search for this view. In this case, like someone reported that there's a report based on this view. It's not showing exactly what it should. So this is a root cause analysis kind of case where I want to track down, well, what's going on? Why is this view not showing what it should? So I'm going to bring up the lineage view for this asset, and immediately I see, hey, there are these 6 tables that are the building blocks for this view. I can see that this view is part of the gold layer. We've got a traditional medallion architecture, and so the view is in the gold layer, and the tables that it's based on, I think, are all in the gold layer. Now, as I start to look upstream to see the source of data for this policy table, so I can see that, hey, that came from policy S, which is our naming standard for tables in the silver layer, and I can continue to go upstream. In fact, here, I'm going to expand not just one, but everything upstream from policy. And now it shows me, hey, this is a little bit more complicated than we might have thought at first. Of course, the bronze layer is upstream from the silver layer, so I do see policy is there. And upstream from that is this operational table in a different schema. But I also see things that I might not have intuitively known right away, like it's coming. This policy at the silver layer is incorporating data from location and sales region, and upstream from sales region, we're getting data from an operational system, in this case over in Oracle, whereas this other data we've been looking at is in Snowflake. So it's a quick way for me to start with one asset and then just efficiently find out, well, what are all the upstream things that were used to build up this asset. So it really, it makes it efficient for me to track down those problems. Now, let's take a look in, I'll call it the reverse direction, where I'm going to find the operational table that I want. And in this case, I'm going to choose the person table. And I want to know, like, there's a few reasons I might do it, but sort of an impact analysis to know if we're considering a change, what things downstream could be affected, or sometimes I want to track there's sensitive data in there, where is that going? So that type of use case. So I'm going to start with the person table. Now here, if there were upstream data feeding into this, I would see that right away as well. In this case, there's not. Like, this is populated just directly by an application, and there's no upstream system for it. But I do see immediately the downstream systems for this table. We can see that there's this the bronze layer, like as we were saying, it loads right from there into the bronze layer. And then these other views that in this case are based right on the operational system. Maybe those are maybe not BI. Hopefully our BI reports are based on the gold layer, but for whatever reason, we've got some views based on it. So I see that right there. So now let's look. You know, we continue to go downstream from here. It's okay. Bronze goes to the silver layer, just as you'd expect. But in this case, I'm gonna change my persona just a tiny bit and say I want a more technical view of things. Now, as an aside, you don't have to enable that for all your users. Like this view of technical data can be enabled just for some, and other users just have that functional view of Lineage. But here, where I'm saying, hey, I want the techie view. I'm comfortable seeing, like, how did this data load? Now, well, first off, it's popped up this brand new node in the view here, and this is an ETL tool, and that is showing me there was a stored procedure that got executed to load data from the operational system to the bronze layer. And here I get to see the full code as we parse the system, this is the code that we found in the stored procedure. Or when I'm looking just at the person table here and I want to see what code loaded it, here we're seeing just a subset of that same stored procedure. So the tool's already done the work to figure out which part of that large stored procedure applied to loading this table, and it gets me right to what I need. So again, really this idea of being very efficient with tracking down where data is moving. Okay, now we can continue to expand this downstream. In this case, I think like the next layer wasn't loaded by a stored procedure, but rather it was loaded just by an insert statement that ran directly in the database. So it's an example of the query history being surfaced here, so we can see what was going on. But now let me draw your attention to how we integrate with other parts of the suite. So I'm going to turn on data classification. And there we see right away, aha, there's sensitive data from the person table, as you'd expect, right? There's birth date and name and things like that. And then it's not a shock that there's sensitive data flowing downstream. So we see that depicted right here. An interesting note, like this table does not use any of the sensitive fields, and so it actually doesn't show up. I might naively have thought that everything based on person had sensitive data, but in this case it doesn't all, but some of it does, but some of it doesn't. So we can see really for this sort of compliance, a governance kind of a use case where I can see where data is flowing. Let me also look at tying in with our observability and data quality rules. And as soon as I turn this on, we can see actually, there's one problem. We can see where the data quality rules are running. I can see in a bunch of tables things are fine. There's 3 healthy rules, nothing alerting. But in this case, there's one rule that's alerting. It's got a problem. Maybe I want to track down and see what's going on there. Here we can see that every person must be in the party table. So there's this this constraint violation that we're not getting consistency between the tables, or they might even be between different systems. So that can help me track down problems. You know, so you have this tight integration between them. Let me do another case where it's not where I just want to say, is there sensitive data moving downstream? But I want to look at, like, really specifically, I've got a few examples in mind that I want to check on. So for example, we're like, hey, where is that gender data created and where is it moving? And we see, all right, as soon as I start typing it in, it highlights exactly where it shows up in our lineage, or something sensitive like birth date. As soon as I put in birth date, it's showing me, all right, it flows downstream from this table down to these others, and I got this simple way to solve problems, to understand where data is flowing throughout my system. Okay, so this was a quick introduction to the tool. Thanks for listening, and please head over to our website for lots more information.